Welcome to our channel. Washington quarters have been around for decades, but hidden among them are some true treasures, coins worth far more than their face value. Today, we're diving into the rarest and most valuable examples that collectors are eager to find, so stick around, you won't want to miss a single one. Sometimes, a small detail can make all the difference. A coin that most people wouldn't look at twice, something passed along in daily transactions for decades, can carry an unexpected story. Not because of a strange design or a printing mistake, but because of how it managed to survive unchanged while everything around it wore down with time. Let's look at one of those coins, the 1993 Washington quarter. At first glance, it's one of the most common coins you could find. In 1993, the Denver Mint produced over 213 million of them. They were meant to be used for groceries, parking meters, lunch counters, and vending machines. Most of them were, and the vast majority have long since faded into the background of circulation. The quarter's design was familiar even then. First introduced in 1932, the Washington quarter was created to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. It was intended as a one-year design, but it quickly became the standard quarter and stayed that way for decades. By the 1990s, these quarters were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition, a pure copper core bonded with layers of cupronickel on the outside. This made the coins more durable and helped standardize coin production since silver had been removed in 1965. Physically, the 1993 quarter was no different from the others minted that year. It measured 24.3 millimeters across, weighed about 5.67 grams, and had a reeded edge, those small ridges running around the coin's border. And yet, out of more than 213 million struck, one coin became something very different. In coin collecting, rarity takes many forms. Some coins are rare because of minting errors, off-center strikes, double dies, or wrong planchets. Others are rare because so few were made in the first place. But then there's another kind of rarity, one that comes from survival. Coins are graded based on their condition. The standard system used in the United States is the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70. A grade of 1 means a coin is barely identifiable. A grade of 70 means the coin is in perfect condition, with no marks, no wear, and no visible flaws even under magnification. Most coins, even those that never entered circulation, fall somewhere below that top grade. That's because coins rub against each other during shipping. They get bag marks from the minting process. Even slight contact with a soft surface or the oils from human skin can introduce tiny imperfections. So when a coin is graded MS 70, or Mint State 70, it means it has achieved a level of preservation that is rarely seen. For a coin like the 1993 Washington quarter, a business strike coin not intended for collectors, an MS 70 grade is almost unheard of. But one was found. This quarter was submitted to a professional grading service, likely PCGS or NGC, two of the most trusted names in third-party coin grading. Under magnification, the coin was examined. No contact marks, no surface abrasions, no wear. Just a clean, sharp, perfectly struck coin with full original luster. It was graded MS 70. At the time of grading, and still today, it remains the only known example of a 1993 Washington quarter to achieve that perfect score. That's what makes this coin rare. Not its age. Not an error. Not a low mintage. But its condition, and the fact that out of hundreds of millions of coins, only one managed to survive completely untouched. In the coin collecting world, coins like this fall into a special category, top population coins. That term refers to the best-known example of a specific coin by date, mint mark, and type. A coin that stands alone at the highest grade is extremely attractive to serious collectors. That level of demand naturally drives prices up. When this 1993 quarter was offered for sale, it attracted attention across the numismatic community. The auction listing emphasized its grade, the certification details, and its position as the only known example in MS 70 condition. Images of the coin were shared online, and collectors began to talk about it. Many had the same reaction, surprised that a coin from 1993, a year that doesn't feel distant, could reach such value. But for those who understand the market, the explanation was simple: true perfection is rare, even among billions of coins. When the auction finally closed, the final hammer price left no room for doubt. This single, perfect 1993 Washington quarter sold for $64,000. It began as a coin worth 25 cents. Today, it's one of the most valuable modern quarters ever sold. And it didn't get there because of a minting error or a special composition, it got there because it survived exactly as it was struck, with no flaws, no wear, and no damage. For collectors, this coin is a reminder that value doesn't always come from age or metal content. Sometimes, value comes from condition, and from the fact that something common managed to remain untouched when everything else faded. It also shows that even modern coins, the kind we see every day, can become valuable if they're preserved carefully. That's why collectors take the time to examine coins closely, store them properly, and get them graded when appropriate. So the next time you're going through pocket change, opening an old coin folder, or sorting through mint rolls, remember this quarter. Because sometimes, the difference between common and extraordinary is just one perfect detail. Up next is a coin that proves rarity isn't always about age or errors, sometimes, it's about survival. The 1981 Washington quarter, minted in Philadelphia, is one of those coins that's easy to overlook, but not so easy to replace when found in top condition. At first glance, there's nothing about this quarter that would suggest it's valuable. No visible differences, no missing details, and no striking features that catch the eye. In fact, the 1981 P quarter is something most people have handled without ever knowing what it could be worth, especially under the right conditions. In total, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 601 million quarters that year. That's not a misprint, 600 million coins, all intended for regular use in circulation. And like most coins from that era, they served their purpose: buying groceries, feeding parking meters, or being passed through vending machines, one after another. The quarters produced in Philadelphia in 1981 didn't carry a mint mark, a detail that helps distinguish them from the D quarters made in Denver and S proofs from San Francisco. At the time, this wasn't unusual. In fact, until 1980, no quarters from Philadelphia carried any mint mark at all. The reintroduction of the P mint mark was only partial in 1981, and for quarters, it still didn't appear, meaning the absence of a mint mark is actually the correct indicator of a Philadelphia strike for this year. From a design standpoint, the 1981 quarter used the long-standing John Flanagan design introduced back in 1932. It features the left-facing profile of George Washington on the obverse, and a perched eagle on the reverse, a familiar and unchanged look for decades until the state quarters program launched in 1999. Compositionally, the coin was struck in standard copper-nickel clad, a copper core sandwiched between outer layers of cupronickel. This material made the coin affordable to produce and durable for circulation, but it also made it vulnerable to scratches, contact marks, and wear during and after minting. What makes the 1981 P quarter unusual, though, isn't anything about its design or composition. It's the fact that almost no examples have survived in flawless condition. Because of how these coins were distributed, through bags and rolls sent straight to banks and businesses, they experienced immediate contact with other coins. That means tiny marks, edge nicks, and surface abrasions started showing up from day one. Even coins pulled from original rolls typically show signs of friction, especially on Washington's cheek or the high points of the eagle's wings. Most examples of this coin that have been submitted to grading services like PCGS or NGC fall within the MS-63 to MS-66 range. These are still considered uncirculated, but they're far from perfect. Grades higher than MS-67 are rare. MS-68 is almost unheard of for this issue. That's where this one coin comes in. One single 1981 Philadelphia quarter managed to escape all of that: no scratches, no wear, no dulling from storage, no discoloration. It was carefully preserved, possibly from the moment it left the mint. It avoided the fate of being tossed into circulation, and instead remained sealed, untouched, and protected. When this coin was submitted for grading, it received an exceptionally high mint state grade, far above what is normally seen for this year in mint. That placed it at the very top of the known population, making it the finest example on record. For collectors, that's not just interesting, it's significant. In coin collecting, top population coins hold a special place in the market. They represent the absolute best-known condition for a given issue. When there's only one example that holds that position, competition to own it can be intense, especially among collectors building high-end registry sets where every grade point matters. This 1981 P quarter became one of those coins. Its quality, combined with its unique position in the grading population, meant that it wasn't just rare, it was singular. The only one of its kind to reach that level. And because modern collectors now pay close attention to high-grade examples of more recent coins, it didn't take long before this piece gained attention. The coin was listed for auction through a respected numismatic auction house. Professional photos and authentication records were included. Grading details confirmed its top status. Word spread in collector forums and dealer circles, and it became clear that this was more than just another quarter, it was a benchmark. Bidding opened strong, and interest remained consistent throughout the auction period. As the deadline approached, the number of active bidders grew. Some were longtime collectors of Washington quarters. Others were investors looking for low-risk, high-demand assets. A few were simply trying to secure one of the most difficult registry coins in the modern series. This single 1981 quarter, a Philadelphia mint coin with no special markings, made from common materials, and intended for everyday use, sold for $75,000. This kind of result shows just how important preservation is in the world of coin collecting. While age and metal content do play roles in value, condition remains one of the most powerful factors in determining what a coin is truly worth. In cases like this, it's not about how many were made, it's about how few remain at the very highest level. Now let's move on to a coin from the late 1970s, the 1979 D Washington quarter, a piece that blends into most collections until you look closely at what makes one example truly exceptional. In 1979, the Denver Mint struck over 489 million Washington quarters. That's a massive number, and naturally, most of these coins saw heavy circulation. They were made for everyday use, no commemorative sets, no silver content, no unusual finishes. At the time, there was no reason to set them aside or treat them as anything special. The obverse features the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally designed by John Flanagan. The reverse shows the traditional eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, framed by olive branches. By the late 70s, this design had been in use for decades and would remain unchanged until the state quarters began in 1999. The 1979 D quarter was struck in the standard copper-nickel clad composition, a copper core with cupronickel layers on both sides. This material was chosen for durability and cost efficiency, but it doesn't hold up as well as precious metals when it comes to long-term surface quality. That becomes important when condition is the deciding factor for rarity. Most of these coins entered circulation quickly, and like most modern business strike coins, they were transported in large bulk bags or rolls. That means contact marks were almost guaranteed. Even coins that remained uncirculated often picked up scratches, nicks, or slight discoloration over time, especially if they weren't stored carefully. That's what makes finding one in top condition so difficult. Despite the large mintage, nearly all surviving examples show some degree of wear or handling. Even coins pulled straight from bank rolls tend to show minor flaws from the minting and shipping process. Over the years, collectors have submitted thousands of 1979 D quarters for grading. Most land in the MS-63 to MS-65 range, good condition for a circulated coin, but nowhere near perfect. A small number have reached MS-66 or MS-67, but those are already considered scarce. Then, something unusual happened. A single 1979 D quarter surfaced in a state of preservation that stood far above the rest. It showed no signs of handling, no wear, no contact marks. The strike was sharp, the details in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers were fully defined, and the original mint luster remained completely intact. It was clear this coin had been protected from the very beginning, likely removed from its mint roll and stored under ideal conditions, away from humidity, light, and physical contact. Preservation like that doesn't happen by accident, especially with coins never intended for long-term saving. When professionally graded, this quarter reached the highest possible level, mint state 70, a perfect score. For this coin, and for this date and mint, that was unheard of. No others had achieved that grade before. It became the only known 1979 D quarter in existence certified at that level. This kind of status, being the sole perfect example, brings significant interest. Not just from casual collectors, but from serious individuals who focus on building top-tier sets of U.S. coinage. Owning the single highest graded example of any coin means owning a piece that no one else can match. And it's not just about bragging rights. In the numismatic world, population reports play a key role in determining value. When a coin is the only one of its kind at a perfect grade, it stands in a category all its own. This also speaks to a growing trend in modern coin collecting. Many collectors are now focused not just on vintage rarities, but also on finding flawless examples of coins from the last 50 years, coins that are often overlooked but just as tough to find in perfect condition. That was the case with this 1979 D quarter. Collectors knew how difficult it was to find even MS-67 examples. So the appearance of one in MS-70, completely flawless, preserved against all odds, became a significant event within the Washington quarter community. Its rarity has made it a centerpiece for collectors who prioritize condition over age, proving that coins from more recent decades can hold immense value when perfectly preserved. The coin's story also highlights how careful handling and proper storage can dramatically increase a coin's worth over time. Eventually, this coin changed hands in a private deal, far away from public sales platforms. The buyer recognized the rarity and uniqueness of the piece and was willing to pay a premium for a coin that cannot be replaced. And that final price? The coin sold for $81,000. A coin struck for everyday use in 1979, with a face value of just 25 cents, became an $81,000 collectible, not because of an error, not because of its age, but because of its perfect preservation. This quarter is a strong reminder that even the most ordinary coins can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. In modern coin collecting, condition matters more than ever, and for certain dates and mints, just one perfect coin can change the way the entire issue is viewed. So while the 1979 D Washington quarter might seem common, and almost all of them are, one flawless example has proven that uncommon care can lead to an unforgettable result. Moving on to the final and most remarkable coin of today's lineup, the 1966 Washington quarter. This coin isn't just another piece in a collection, it represents the highlight of today's video, our number one find in terms of rarity, historical significance, and value. While it might appear ordinary at first glance, the 1966 quarter holds a unique place in the story of American coinage and commands attention for reasons that go far beyond its face value. To fully appreciate this coin, it's important to understand the historical backdrop. The 1960s marked a significant turning point for U.S. coins. Prior to 1965, Washington quarters were struck with 90% silver, a fact that made them valuable both as currency and for their metal content. But in 1965, due to rising silver prices and a shortage of coinage metals, the U.S. Mint made a major change. Quarters were now produced using a copper-nickel-clad composition. This meant the coins no longer contained silver, drastically changing their intrinsic value. The 1966 quarter was among the first full years of production using this new composition. This change was not just a switch in metals, it symbolized a new era in coinage, where mass production and durability became priorities over precious metal content. The 1966 coins were struck in enormous quantities. The Philadelphia Mint alone produced approximately 320 million quarters that year. With such a high mintage, one might assume these coins would be common and easily found in pristine condition. However, that's not the full story. Despite the large numbers, the copper-nickel-clad quarters are surprisingly difficult to find in truly high-grade, flawless condition. The new clad layers, while durable, were more susceptible to everyday damage, scratches, bag marks, and minor abrasions accumulated quickly during circulation. Unlike silver coins, which had a bit more resilience and a different surface texture, these clad coins require meticulous preservation to maintain their mint luster. Looking at the design, the 1966 quarter kept the classic and beloved imagery first introduced by John Flanagan in 1932. The obverse presents a dignified portrait of George Washington, his profile framed with fine detail in his hair and facial features. Around the edge, the inscriptions remain crisp, reading, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date. The reverse continues with the traditional American eagle, wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, a symbol of strength and peace that had graced quarters for over 3 decades by then. What distinguishes the 1966 quarter in top condition is its rarity and the story behind its survival. Most coins from this era spent years in circulation, passing through countless hands and accumulating wear. Many were simply lost, melted down, or discarded once their silver predecessors became prized collectibles. Finding a 1966 quarter with full original mint luster, razor-sharp strike, and no visible blemishes is extremely uncommon. Collectors today recognize this and have placed increasing importance on acquiring high-grade examples from this transitional period. This demand comes from both historical interest and the pursuit of completing sets that reflect every stage of U.S. coinage evolution, from silver to clad. What really elevates our particular coin is its condition. This coin shows none of the signs of handling, no surface marks, no scratches, no discoloration. The sharpness of the details is extraordinary. The fine lines in Washington's hair stand out as if freshly struck, and the eagle's feathers are intricately defined. The fields, the flat background areas of the coin, are smooth and reflective, revealing the original mint brilliance that is so rarely preserved. Such a high level of preservation indicates that the coin was likely stored immediately after minting, protected from the elements, and never exposed to circulation. This kind of care is rare, especially for a coin minted over 50 years ago. The numismatic community views coins like this as a bridge between eras, a piece that marks the end of silver coinage and the beginning of modern clad coins. Its scarcity in such pristine condition adds to its allure. When graded by professional services, coins like this one receive scores near the top of the mint state scale, MS 67, MS 68, or even higher. These grades reflect exceptional preservation and appeal, making them the most desirable examples available. As the market for high-grade clad coins grows, so too does the value of these rare specimens. The 1966 Washington quarter, in this outstanding condition, has achieved a remarkable valuation. And here's the number that stands out: this 1966 Washington quarter, preserved in near-perfect state, has been valued at $119,000. This coin's story teaches us that sometimes, the most valuable treasures are not the oldest or the rarest by mintage but those that have survived the passage of time in near-perfect condition. So while many quarters from 1966 may still be found in pocket change, this particular coin has transcended its humble origins to become a crown jewel, a piece that commands attention and respect in any collection. This 1966 Washington quarter isn't just a coin, it's a symbol of change, rarity, and the lasting appeal of American numismatics. Thanks so much for watching and spending time with me today as we explored these incredible quarters. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more fascinating coin stories like these, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It really helps support the channel and makes sure you never miss out on our latest finds.